We're live on YouTube. And I've got, let's see, it says I have 3 participants. Awesome. Yay. You guys got in okay. Please feel free to chat. If you guys have any questions during the presentation, I'm more than happy to stop what I'm doing and answer those questions for you. I want to be a resource. And I'm cold. I can't warm up like we typically do in class, but for those that take class with me, but we are here. We are here. Let me know in the chat if you see me, everything is running smoothly. I would love to know and make sure that that you guys are good to go. You don't have to talk. You can just tell me in the chat that we are on it. Okay. We'll get started very shortly. Thank you for being here, for taking the time. I appreciate it. Maybe it might just be you two, but we got some good information to cover, and it's going to be good. I hope you were also able to watch last week's. And if you're still having troubles chatting, please let me know, maybe via Facebook Messenger. I hope that this works out. All right. And I have someone logging or trying to connect in. Oh, there you are, Natalia. Yes. In your opinion, I think you can, whatever you can glean from this will be helpful to you. I mean, if you don't do the entire program, that's okay. I think that any information could help anyone, really. It is really good stuff. Let me just make sure. All right. I just want to make sure that you guys can actually communicate with me, and I don't see anything quite yet. Maybe let me just make sure. Oh boy. I need to mute. Okay, here we go. You can see me clearly. Yay. I'm going to mute myself on here. There we go. Okay. Technical. This is like all new for me. So I'm glad that this is working. Yay. Okay. And I can see that you guys can see me on YouTube as well. And I hear some people. Can you guys hear me okay? All right. I'm going to mute you just in case, just for now. But if you do have a question, feel free to let me know. All right. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to share my screen. Wonderful. Okay. Here we go. And present. I don't want to download. I want to present. And there we go. Okay. Yay. Q&A. Look at that. Chat is disabled and your mic free. Okay. Thank you, Jenya, for letting me know. I appreciate it. The chat shouldn't be disabled, but Q&A is obviously working. So feel free to use that instead. Okay. Oh, we are not on the right slide. Here we go. Let's go back to the beginning or not. Thank you for putting up with me right now. I should be at the beginning. Okay. We are good. We are good to go now. Yay. Share. And can you see my screen okay? I hope. Okay. I'm going to assume that that is a yes. Present. Present. Okay, we're good now. Yay, at the beginning. So most of you know me. This is the Met.A.F.I.R.E method. And if you did not see last week's presentation, we did a brief overview of what it actually is. And, you know, I really want to drive home that the struggle is real. And it's not just for the normal average individual. It's everyone, including myself. COVID did a number on all of us, and the accessibility to food and the lack of movement just probably further exacerbated issues. So I am coming to you in the same boat, really, at different points, trying to figure out, how do I get rid of this fat? How do I rev my own metabolism, which I've never had a problem with because of my genetics being a part of that. But now, you know, nearing 50, it's like, yeah, things are definitely slowing down. And the things that I used to do are not working anymore. So that's what this program is about. You all know me, but in case you don't, my passion is to help women in particular, but anybody truly, to be whole and healthy, and not just, okay, this is what you need to eat and this is how you need to move, because I think that it's more than that. And that's what this program is about. All right. I love my acronyms. So really quickly, it is mentality and energy training for the ability to foster and ignite revolutionary effectiveness. That's a mouthful, I know, but we covered last week mentality and energy. We talked about how you view life, the things in your brain that stop you from making the right choices matter. You can try to eat better and exercise out the wazoo, but if you do not, you know, keep that good mentality, if you don't have solid habits in your life from really good growth mindset, then you will not continue to reach for and achieve your goals. So we talked about that, and it's way more complicated, excuse me, than people think that it is, and way more involved than we think it is. We also talked about energy, that there are things involved that even sometimes we don't think about, in terms of, like, if you are low on energy, what's the source? So if you have not watched last week's seminar, please do that, because it's packed full of really good information. And then I'm going to quickly glaze over this because I want to get to all the good stuff on nutrition and movement. But you have every kind of thing that can possibly be thrown into the kitchen, the big pot. Even the kitchen sink is what I was trying to say. You've got brain, you know, the inner workings of your brain. You've got strength, cardio, nutrition, recovery, spirituality, all of it, including stress, hormones, medications, breathing, and what is in your environment, both emotionally and physically. All of that is thrown into that big pot. And sometimes the mixes are different. You might not get the results that you want due to any number of these factors. And my goal is to not make you feel like, it's too much, I can't do this. In fact, it's the complete opposite. My goal is to inform you so that you can then do some investigative work using different tools and hacks and tricks and tips, and some motivation to get you to a place where you figure out what it is that's contributing and how you can manage it or get rid of it, right? So that's my goal for you. So all of that for the ability to foster and ignite revolutionary effectiveness for metabolism. Okay, so that was the quick spiel. Now we're on to the good stuff. Nutrition. Now, nutrition is a tough one. And please, 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 I really do highly encourage you guys to feel free to question anything. Put it in the Q&A, please. It looks like the chat is disabled for whatever reason, but I would love to hear your questions. And if I can't answer them right away, I will get back to you. I am so about research and finding out the right answer to any questions that you have. Okay. With that, I will say I am not a nutritionist. This is just from actually decades of researching, this being a passion of mine. I began investigating nutrition in my probably mid-20s because I was very motivated to eat healthy. I read some books. Dr. Andrew Weil's book, can't remember the name of it, but it was eye-opening for me. All of the different things that he's the guy who started True Foods and was on Oprah for many, many years. So I grew to appreciate eating well and understanding that eating well is not just, it's not just something you do because you have to. It's something that you can actually enjoy. So I found ways to make food flavorful that was really good for you, and my family benefits as a result. So with that being said, I give you this information for you to take, and I am not the expert by any means, but I do believe that I have gleaned from the experts and I have come to my own conclusions, and you can take from this what you will. I believe wholeheartedly in what I am going to share with you today. So I am kind of an expert in some ways because I've pulled all this information and I want to share it with you. So without further ado, what is the right diet? Oh boy, is this a loaded question, right? If you're in YouTube land and you're commenting and I'm not responding, it's because I have a full screen for my presentation, so I apologize. If you have my cell phone number, feel free to text me because I might be able to answer your question that way. Or you can message me on Facebook. Just a quick caveat there too. So yeah. And back to this question of what is the right diet? There is so much confusion, sincerely a ton of confusion, and I hate it. I hate it so much because I've been asked 1,100 times, what should I be eating? And is this diet okay? And I want to say that there is no one diet that works for everybody. Bottom line. Maybe there's a general rule of thumb where there are certain certain people in the population that it works better for, say, for instance, the Mediterranean diet. The baseline of the Mediterranean diet is fresh foods, natural, unprocessed, full of good oils and fats and meats and vegetables, and even really good carbs. So the majority of the time you're going to see benefit from that. And I'll dive into 5 different steps that you can do as a real baseline for losing weight. So we'll get to that in a minute. But if you have someone telling you you need to do this diet, or you say, or you hear this worked for me, you should try it. It might not work for you. And this is the part that is, it can be very, very frustrating because what works for one person might not work for you. And if you have someone telling you, no, this is what's going to happen and you will get results from this, yeah, you might. but you also might not. And I can relate. So how do you know what the right diet is for you? There are some tricks, okay? There are things and tools that can help you. Genetic testing is one of the best things you can do. There are several out there. One that I've done is G.N.O.P.A.L.I.T, I think is what it's called, G.N.O.P.A.L.I.T. It takes about 2 weeks once you swab your cheek to get it back, maybe 3 weeks to a month, depending on how backed up they are. And it gives you a heap load of information on actually what is best for your body, what foods are most beneficial to you, what foods to stay away from, what you process the best. For instance, it said that I need carbs. For me, my particular body type needs carbs. So basically that means that if I went on a keto diet, which I have tried in the past and I did not do well, it's not going to work. It's not going to. Oh, thank you, Lisa. It's not going to work if your body says, no, thank you, right? The way that you process foods is different from your friend or another relative even. So understanding that is huge because it makes you feel like you're not crazy. It's number one. And number two is it gives you insight into, okay, now I can just avoid these things because number one, they probably don't make you feel good. And number two, it's probably going to cause more problems in the long run. And number three, if you're eating the right things, you are able to, excuse me, then proceed to kind of lay a foundation that's going to only benefit you. So one question that's coming in is the difference between a Mediterranean diet versus a plant-based diet. So plant-based diet is essentially vegan. I believe that's what you're referring to. So plant-based diet, vegan, personally, and this is just my personal opinion, I understand that people have belief systems, and so that's often why they choose to do vegetarianism or veganism. And I'm not poo-pooing on any part of that. I understand that that's can be a part of culture, also part of like true passion for, animal welfare and all of that. So that being said, I do not think that for the majority of the population that it is beneficial. It's just my opinion, because there are vitamins and minerals in specifically red meat that you cannot get. You can supplement it, but you cannot get the full benefits from supplementation, just from the science that the documentation that I've read. It is very difficult to get the right minerals and vitamins. So although people adhere to it also for health reasons, I want to say Bill Clinton, Ornish, Dr. Ornish, he's a big proponent of vegan diet. There are also people like Dave Asprey, the Bulletproof Diet. He has said that veganism almost killed him. And to each their own. If veganism is your jam and you are thriving and living large on it, then keep going, keep doing your thing. But if you are finding that it is very difficult and you're having trouble finding protein and getting the right minerals and you're experiencing weakness of nails and your hair's, all of these things can be side effects of a strict plant-based diet. Mediterranean diet is lots of fish, other meats, but like smaller portions, good unprocessed grains, tons of olive oil, and good fats from fish, of course, as well. lots and lots of vegetables and fresh, unprocessed foods. So that's the basis of the Mediterranean diet. And I will dive in a little bit more why these certain types of diets you can see the benefits of them as you implement them into your life. So I hope that answers your question, Lisa. All right. So quality versus quantity. There is I hear you, Lisa. Good. That's a great comment. She said that she likes her chicken and meat enough, and she does not want to do plant-based, but she was looking to lose weight. Aren't we all? Right. So quality versus quantity, caloric expenditure. There is so much information about this. And I myself have said to the average client that I've had in the past, because I'm constantly learning, I would not say this to them now if I still had them as a client. And that's okay. We grow, we learn. I do not think calories in equals, or calories in and calories out, having that, calories out more than calories in works the way we think it works, or how we've touted it for years and years and years. So I'm going to refer to some notes right now that, based on scientific studies, not only does counting calories tend not to work for everybody, what your body does with those calories actually makes a huge difference. Okay, so quality of food is huge. Like we're talking about this Mediterranean diet. If you have good, natural, unprocessed foods and you're eating all of that versus, snacking here and there, having a one large meal at the end of the day, but that is from a package, I think you guys all know that that's not going to give you the right healthy results, right? So nice, Jenny. I like that. I like that a lot. She said it does work when you're 25, but somehow no longer works when you're turning 25 for the 10th time. Laugh out loud. Very, very true. Oh, I did not mean to do that. Dang it. Okay, here we go. All right. I'm trying to get rid of the share. Go away. No. Okay, there we go. I just had to move it. I'm going to minimize that. All right. So, for instance, in one of my blog posts, I did write about how over a year, if you snacked on even a quarter of a Snickers bar 3 times a day, which is only the equivalent of 300 calories. And by the way, who eats a quarter of a Snickers bar? Even those little minis that you get at Halloween time, we pop like 3 of those, and that's 300 calories right there if you have 3 of those. And if you combine that with not moving as much over an entire year, it's up to 20 pounds of weight gain potential. That's insane. And even if you're eating 100 calories of, say, a banana, yeah, you might get the nutritive value of it that is higher than, say, a Snickers bar, but it's still 300 calories, right? But which is better? Of course, the banana, but you still have to add movement into the mix to not gain the weight, right? So, and we'll get to movement in a bit, but I just want you guys to see there is some good and some, 1 + 1 = 2 when it comes to caloric expenditure and caloric intake. But at the same time, it is not all 1 + 1 = 2. For instance, you have something called BMR. It's your basal metabolic rate. It's the amount of energy that you expend just to run your body. If you did nothing else, that is what it takes to run your body. It can run anywhere from low thousands, and some young men could be 2,000, right? So what it takes to run your body, and the more muscle you have, the more your BMR will be. So, however, what studies have come to find is that when you say decrease your caloric intake by 30%, and then you increase your output by say 10%, even if maybe you just add walking into your daily routine for 10 minutes, let's make it low level. Okay. But even if you decrease 30%, your body eventually will adjust your BMR to decrease 30%. How crazy is that? Your body craves homeostasis. Homeostasis is where your body wants to keep even playing field. It doesn't like change. It doesn't like up and down. It likes even. Keep everything going, same pace. That is true homeostasis, and your body wants that. So how do we overcome this? And I really do think that life is meant to be lived. And so to go back to that diet idea, if you try and put a diet on everybody and say this, you need to do keto, you need to do paleo, I think there are beneficial things from each of these diets, but I do not believe that it should be something that is mandated across the board. You must find the thing that works for you. And yes, it does require a little bit of research. It does require some work or finding tools and tricks to help you figure out what it is that works for you, because no one person is the same. We are not cookie cutter, and you almost guaranteed you'll kind of know what works for you. Like when I was doing keto, I was miserable, and I had heard that there would be these types of lulls and whatnot, but nothing like what I was experiencing. And so, you know, your body, you can understand, especially if you are someone who wants to be healthy for the majority of the time, who works out and tries to stay not only healthy here, but in body and soul too, right? So it is not simple. Let's put it that way. So to go back, it's finding the right foods to eat that equate to good energy, which then enhances your expenditure. And there are other tips and tricks, and I did kind of briefly dive into that in last seminar. There's NMN. It's really hard to say fast. And Niagen, or True Niagen, is one brand that I really appreciate that helps actually the mitochondria in your cells, and incorporating these supplements and different types of foods that boost your mitochondria are going to give you good energy, which then in turn allows you to push a little bit harder during your movement. And then it creates a cyclical pattern where you're not just dragging yourself through a workout, or, you know, what you're eating is actually contributing to your energy. And you don't have to have the umpteenth cup of coffee or the pre-workout that makes your brain want to pop off your head. So, you know, these types of things. So the right foods to eat equate to good energy, which then only furthers your cause. And I do want to also talk about, you know, how hormones, it is complicated, and everything that we eat contributes to your hormones. So it's no joke. What you do is, if you eat a ton of processed foods, and you all know this, you feel miserable afterwards, correct? It spikes your blood sugar. It makes you lethargic. I mean, it tastes good, sure tastes good going down, but you pay for it later. And it's because your hormones are involved. And your hormones are the ones that help you feel certain ways in your body. And if you mess up that, you can tend to feel more miserable. And then that can landslide into mentality and making you feel depressed. So I cannot emphasize enough how eating the right foods is only going to be more beneficial to you. And you're like, you're preaching to the choir, Amy, we know. But finding out what those specific good foods is, that's what I'm trying to get at. So discovering the diet that works for you is the answer, in my personal opinion. So getting that DNA test, I think, is huge. Finding out the foods that work for you, finding how it connects to your hormones and how it makes you feel, and doing some tests. You know, say for instance, you absolutely hate Brussels sprouts. I mean, a lot of people do, but if it's not one of the ones on your DNA test list, get rid of them. If it is, good luck. No, I'm just kidding. You would probably need to find ways to dress it up or do things that could help you manage to eat them. And there are ways to do that. There are ways to cook something that makes it tasty. So, and even then, it might not be your cup of tea. So anyway, again, hormones, when you eat carbs, insulin secretion, okay? And depending on the types of carbs that you're eating determines how much insulin is secreted. And depending on how much insulin is secreted determines how much of it stays in your bloodstream and then turns into fat if it doesn't get properly exited from the body. So it contributes to fat. And I'm not saying you should never enjoy a donut or a cookie or, you know, a bowl of steaming white rice. That's one of my weaknesses. It's like crack for me. I grew up with it, so I can't help myself. But limiting the amount is what's going to be beneficial to you. So it's not that you shouldn't live your life and avoid everything, because if you do, then you're only going to crash and burn at some point later, which I'm going to talk about next. But it's about finding sustainability in your eating habits. It's being flexible when you need to, going out to eat and not being so rigid that you can't have a meal with friends, right? But at the same time, the majority of what you're doing is healthy and unprocessed and full of good food. It is, and that's I think the biggest problem is it's hard because we don't have a lot of time. But what is your value? You obviously value health. You value your body, or you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be listening. So even though it does take a little bit more time, in the long run, it is worth it. In the long run, you avoid the wheelchair because you have diabetes. In the long run, you avoid, walking with a walker because your bones are fragile. In the long run, you get the point. What you're doing consistently now will reap you dividends in the future. It is absolutely worth it. And not only that, but you feel better about yourself. Your mentality grows toward positivity, right? And to this next point, if you are miserable and you're constantly fighting a diet and feeling like you're never going to get a step up with what you're doing, and if you do the program for, say, whatever program you're choosing to do or have done in the past, and you do it for a good solid, I don't know, 2 weeks, how many of us feel like this isn't working? But how many of us have given up before we would have seen results if we had just not given up and kept consistent with it, and then seen this snowball effect of the opposite nature, of the healthy nature, right? Too many times we allow bad habits to snowball, and then we have to really dig through and fight through all that hugeness instead of the opposite, and allowing the goodness to be the big things in our lives. But because it's so hard to get there, it's easy to eat poorly. It's everywhere. Food processing has made our lives quicker and easier, but we're paying the price for it. Whatever I ate in my younger years, I truly believe I'm paying for now. I do. You might not think that way, but all the poor choices I made, and like I said, in my early 20s, I really got on this bandwagon, but I wasn't perfect. There were times where I was like, well, let's go to McDonald's. Canada, I was in Canada, and they're way better than here in the States. But even so, come on. And who here has not had Taco Bell? Or, we've all made choices. And I feel like, yes, your body has a way of detoxing and can help you with that. But I feel like our choices eventually can lead us to a certain place in life. And if the more that we make those bad choices, the more that we pay in the long run. There is redemption able to be had, but it takes time to redeem, right? And I really, really, truly believe that if we have a poor attitude toward eating healthy, we're not going to do it. It's all in how we decide to view it, to look at it, to see it as an opportunity to just bring health to our lives, to have a good why. I want to be able to play with my grandchildren. I want to wrestle with them. I want to chase them when I'm a grandparent. I want to have energy and be able to give back to my community when I'm 85, when I'm 95. I may not be as agile or mobile, but I still want to be sharp as a tack, and I want to be contributing until the day I die to my family and my friends and my community. And so if that isn't a good goal to have, I don't know what is, right? And eating healthy only can contribute to that 110%. So how you think about food matters. If you have a poor relationship to food, that certainly needs to be addressed. If you punish yourself saying, well, I ate this, and so then I need to do this many things in workout, or this many miles on a bike, or whatever, you might want to look a little deeper and see, like, what's the cause of that? Where is that coming from? Where's that stemming from? Because it can affect the long run. It can affect your mental health. So yeah, just a little side note there. What should you eat? So if you truly are serious about losing weight, there are 5 foundational principles that I believe are incredibly important. And we've kind of touched on them a little bit. If you are set on a diet and this is what I want to do, or you've created your own diet and you're like, this is what's going to work for me because you've done your DNA testing and all of that, 5 things that you need to make sure are in place. Okay. You need to reduce added sugar. It is everywhere, literally everywhere. It's in pizza, pasta sauce, it's in dressings, it's in any kind of packaged food pretty much. And if it says it's sugar-free, even worse, okay? And I'm going to go into that in a bit. But what you get in, say, fresh fruit, that has sugar in it. But because it's bioavailable and all the nutrients are also in there, your body breaks it down slightly differently than pure sugar that is added, that has been processed and spikes your blood sugar, which makes you hold on to fat and creates fat in your body. So if you're going to use any processed products, really read the labels. And I'm going to put a blog post out on this because there was a request for this. It matters. What you see on the label matters. And if there's ingredients you can't read, guaranteed it's probably not good for you and you should avoid it. Okay. But also there are different types of sugars. I'm going to read them off to you. I have them on my phone right here. So different types of sugars are sucrose, glucose, fructose, invert sugar, hydrolyzed starch, corn sweetener, and high fructose corn syrup, to name a few. So if you see any of those types of ingredients in a label, avoid the product entirely. And they are sneaky. They come up with different names so that you think it doesn't have sugar in it, but it actually does. So on to sweeteners. Most of you know this because you've done programs with me, but I'm just going to reiterate again for those who do not know. Avoid aspartame, saccharin, Splenda. Yes, Splenda. It's essentially bleach. Yeah, that's what they discovered it, or some kind of sanitizing byproduct of sanitization. Not good. Truvia is a blend of Splenda and stevia, so stay away from that. Anything that is not natural, like stevia, which can be unnatural, as you heard me say, Truvia is a combo. Try and get it. Not even the raw stuff is good. Try and get it from Whole Foods. You're going to find the good stuff there, okay? Or if you really are concerned, I can give you a list of what is appropriate. Monk fruit, great option. You don't have to use hardly any to make it sweet. And they have it in liquid form. I use it in my coffee every morning, or tea every morning, and it works. It is great stuff. Yeah, so those artificial sweeteners can absolutely not only destroy your gut, we did touch on this in last seminar, but it essentially makes you your hormones work against you, so you hold on to the fat. So you think, oh great, I'm eliminating calories, but it does the opposite. It's terrible. And it destroys your gut biome. So all the good bacteria that you're supposed to have in your gut disappears, and then it just wreaks havoc, and all kinds of leaky gut happens, those kinds of things for sure. All right. So next, number 2, reduce refined grains. So like I said earlier, doesn't mean that you can't indulge every once in a while in that donut or cookie or the white steaming good bowl of rice. And I'm going to touch on why I eat white rice, by the way. But grains, just reduce how much you eat refined grains. And that includes bread, unfortunately. And that also includes gluten-free bread. People think, oh, I'm gluten-free, I can eat as much bread as I want. No. So good breads are hard to come by because typically what they use, if the bread tastes good, it's refined flour. They take the grain and they process it down. They strip it of all its nutrients. They take away the fiber. They take away the protein. And then you're left with white nothingness. And then they enrich it with vitamins and minerals to just basically replace everything that they took out. But your body doesn't process it the same way as if they had left it alone, if that makes sense. So true good grain is going to be fibrous. It's going to help you digest better. It's going to give you a feeling of fullness, of satiety. So quinoa, and I'm going to touch briefly on lectins. You guys may have heard some talk on that. I could name off a ton, but couscous, different grains that actually are beneficial to you, okay, and that make you feel full, and it's not white rice. Speaking of, I eat white rice because brown rice, I came to find out, has traces of arsenic in it. Go figure, right? So I'm sorry, my neighbor's dog is insane. So that's what you're hearing. So that's why I avoid brown rice, because because it's on the outside, the hull of the brown rice, you can't soak it or anything to get rid of it. So I try and avoid brown rice as much as possible, but I also try and limit the amount of white rice that I ingest. I love it, but I try and limit it. Okay. Oh, one more thing. One slice of white bread is equivalent to 6 tablespoons of sugar. So the next time you reach for that bread, just keep that in mind. Good luck, right? And then getting moderate protein. So we're not talking like keto diet is like just eat as much meat and bacon and butter and all of that as you want, cheese, whatever, as much dairy as you want. That's not what we're going for. We're looking for moderate protein. So enough to make you feel like a balanced meal is happening. Good amount of protein. I like to liken it to, a fistful of carbohydrates, maybe a palmful of, and it's relative to each person's hand, the size, a palmful of protein, and then veggies, two handfuls of veggies. That's a balanced meal. That's what's going to fill you up, make you feel like I don't need a snack. I don't need that quarter of a Snickers bar. Okay. Next, number 4, eat natural and processed foods. I've been saying that all this time, so I'm not going to dive too much more into that. And then 5th is this whole idea of intermittent fasting. It's scary. I know intermittent fasting has all kinds of people talking about it, and having tried it myself, I can say that I think it depends on the person. Once again, if you cannot function without food, you cannot get your day started, and you feel depressed and sad and have low energy, and you can't get through your workout, you need to eat something. Maybe it's a quick snack. Like sometimes I will take a couple dates, the little dates that are pitted, and I put some almond butter in and I snack on those. And then I have the energy I need. I'm not saying you have to do that exact thing, but try and see if there's something that works for you. If you can work out without eating and you feel great, do it. Find what works for you. Everybody's saying breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Well, maybe it's not for you, but maybe it is. So testing it out, seeing how you feel, that is what I'm trying to say with all of this, is that it is not a one size fits all. You need to discover for yourself what works for you. And you kind of probably already have some sort of working knowledge. Okay. And again, I just really want to punch this last point home. What is your relationship to food? Do you dread cooking? because there are solutions, there are services out there that will help you eat healthy. And it's not that much more than if you went grocery shopping and you prepared it all. So there are ways around it. If that is your thing and you're just like, I can't, there's a way around it. There are so many services out there that are actually very decent and will prepare really good, high quality foods. Is your relationship, like, really dive in, maybe take some time to journal and see what your thoughts are around food. For instance, if you're getting ready to go out to eat lunch because you were rushing in the morning and you failed to pack something or the leftovers from the night before that you had prepared, are you beating yourself up for not preparing something and, oh, I'm just going to have a salad and the dressing on the side? And is that the type of relationship you have with food? Because I can guarantee you it's going to bite you in the ass later. It just is what it is. So how do we have a healthy relationship with food? How do we understand that food is meant to make you feel good, but in a extended energy type of way, not just an instantaneous rush of, dopamine because chocolate is delicious and makes you, it's more than that. It's this relationship where you truly are feeling like, I've put goodness into my body and I'm getting goodness out. And that takes time to cultivate if you haven't already cultivated that. So just keep that in mind. And I know I'm glossing over a lot of this, but in the program, I would dive a lot deeper if you choose to move forward with it. So just keep that in mind. Okay, I'm going to quickly go through movement. And I know that we're running out of time and I want to value your time, but I do want to get through these few points. Okay. Strength, especially for women. And if you've taken my classes, you know that I am constantly saying this, but there is so much misconception around it. There is, well, if I lift heavy weights, then I'm going to look like a man. Like I said, you've heard me say it before. That is not the case. If you have noticed some CrossFit women, I do want to give this caveat that certain women tend to gravitate towards CrossFit games, and they typically have a build that allows them to lift super heavy. And so of course, it builds them out a bit more. And as much as CrossFitters are supposedly clean, they're competing. And I don't want to say that maybe they're adding to their strengths, but maybe they are. And so I don't want you to use that small window or small example to say that, well, I just don't want to look like that. For the average individual, that's not going to happen. Okay. But what it does is it not only increases your bone mass, it increases your muscle mass, which then in turn will create that fat burning. Okay. So the more muscle you have, the more you're going to burn and the more your body's going to work in your favor. Okay. So challenging yourself, not to the point where you're breaking, but small incremental growth where maybe last week you used 5 pounds and this week you want to try 7 pounds. Then, or even maybe if it's even a half pound, there are ways to go get around it. You can use bands, you can use different techniques to help gain strength. You can use body weight. Like today we did 1.5 million planks. It was insane, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do weights, but it does mean that you have to increase something in order to gain all the benefits from it. Okay. cardio myths. This one is a big one when it comes to especially aging. So, and believe me, I'm the one jumping around on the screen constantly, right? So I don't want you to think that I am doing it and then not seeing results, because I do, but at the same time, I think it's more complicated than that. So I really, really want to drive home that if what you were doing before isn't working for you now, and you're trying to repeat the process, you might want to take a second look. So if you are, for instance, and I'm not saying this applies to everyone. Like if you're a runner, if you are addicted to cardio, I'm not saying that you have to give it up. I'm just saying, take a look. How do you feel? Really take a look. If you feel good, great. But if you feel completely worn out, I'm not saying it's all cardio's fault, but you might want to take it down a notch and see how you feel if you do. And I'm not saying give it up entirely or not replace it with something else, but I am saying test it out, see how you feel. Okay. And one of the things that has been coming more to light now is fat burning walks. So I have shared in class that sometimes after you do a HIIT class, you've essentially kind of released the fat into your bloodstream and it doesn't know where to go. And so you released it, but it doesn't just go out of your body. It finds another spot and just settles down there. So here you did all this work and it's just, it went from your butt to your front, right? What's the point? So one thing that you can do after a HIIT class is go for a quick walk. Just even 5 minutes. Slow. It doesn't have to be fast. Doesn't have to be a incline. Just a quick walk to tell your body where to send that fat. But if you just sit down after doing a workout like that, you're probably not gonna tap into that little trick. Okay. Speaking of walking, it's the new trend because it burns fat. So going for 10-minute to 30-minute walk, getting outside, actually just having a nice kind of rolling hill walk, doesn't have to be big, huge. It not only strengthens your mentality because you're out in nature and you're experiencing some sunshine and all of that, but it's also incredibly good for your body. If you eat, it's one of the best things you can do after a meal because it helps you digest your food. Walking is incredibly beneficial. So just because you're not jumping around doesn't mean you can't get benefit from a walk. Okay. And also to that end as well, if you have a job and you are sitting for the majority of the job, put an alarm on. I know if you're wearing an Apple Watch, it says time to get up, but make it where you actually are doing a full loop. It's not just get up, stretch, and then sit back down. Actually walk it off. Go to the bathroom, walk down the hall, do a little jog in place, whatever you need to do, okay? That will help you get the blood pumping. It really does make a difference. Okay, so I'm gonna lump mentality and longevity, sustainability, and flexibility together, and then I'll go back to true HIIT versus LIT. Or actually, I'm gonna tackle HIIT versus LIT right now. Okay, so if we did true HIIT in class, we'd probably all die. I just want to put it out there. True HIIT is like athletes who are killing it for maximum of 10 to 20 seconds. They're giving it everything they have. Now, I'm not saying that what we do in class isn't going to be beneficial, because I truly believe that it is. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it. But if we really wanted to see results, and you had the ability to do so, and maybe it means that you work your way up to it, this is what I would suggest you do. Sprints. Okay. If you are a member at a club, you can use Sprint 8. I know big clubs has that. Some big clubs have that. Sprint 8 is, 8 rounds, and it's like you go as fast and as hard as you can, you recover, and then you go again, and it's 8 rounds of that. If you can get outside and you love to run, sprints. You're not going to get a ton in. You don't need to, and you can work up to have more, but you sprint for that 10 to 15 seconds, you rest, recover, and then you do it again. If you want to lose weight, that's the way to do it. Another way, the rower. But you have to go as hard as you possibly can, as your body will allow. And based on your heart rate ceiling, whatever that is for you, you need to be hitting it where you almost want to kind of lose your cookies. That's what I'm talking about. This is how you rev your body. This is how you make it that fat burning machine. Nobody wants to do it because it's tough. Nobody wants to do it because it's not fun. But if you get that, you will not only lose the weight, but you will achieve this dopamine effect, right? And I'm not saying destroy your body, because you can do it in different ways. If you've had knee surgery, I don't want you sprinting, right? I don't want you sprinting on hard roads. It's probably not going to be the best for you. There are other ways around it. There is the walking, which is super enjoyable, and there's the rowing or whatever. These things, you can find ways around it, but I'm telling you, it has to be all out effort. On a scale of 1 to 10, you're at a 9, 10. You are giving it. Okay. L.I.T, I formulated this class because I wanted to get the heart rate push without the crazy jumping damage to joints. Okay. And you can get there, but you have to actually have good weight. And so that's why I'm like 5 pounds max, because we're chucking it around. But I just want you to know that there are ways to get that fat burn without killing yourself, right? So yeah, does anybody have any questions before I finish out here? I know we're right at 1 hour right now, and I do want to wrap up quickly, but I want to make sure that if you have any questions, you let me know before we finish. Okay, I'm going to continue on, but please send your questions my way. So that's that. Mentality, longevity, sustainability, flexibility. So again, if you don't enjoy moving or what you think you should be doing, then you got to find something else to do. If you don't enjoy taking group fitness classes, you should find something that you actually enjoy. Hiking, biking, running, whatever it is, find movement that actually makes you happy. There has got to be something that you enjoy. Maybe it's yoga. Maybe it's, there are ways to move that do not have to be painful, both physically and mentally, right? Your approach to it, and I did touch on this a bit before, is you shouldn't punish yourself for what you're eating by working out. It's not a healthy way of going about it. So really taking stock about what your mindset is around exercise, And do I have a healthy approach to this? Huge. And I highly encourage you to do a deep dive, because you want longevity. You want to be doing this for the long haul. I want to be moving into my 90s and beyond. And I'm not saying that it can't be proportional to your age. I think it should. But I want to be healthy and moving and vibrant, and who doesn't? Nobody says I want to be bound to a wheelchair and hunched over and in so much pain that I just want to give up. Nobody wishes for that. But nobody really thinks about what it's going to take to get there. And we have that choice now. So taking the steps and changing our mentality and changing the things in our lives that are going to lead to longevity and sustainability. Is it something you can do and make it a part of your life for the long haul? Because you got one life, and why not make it the best that you possibly can? And flexibility. I'm talking not just your physical flexibility, but your flexibility with the changes and the ebbs and flows of life, right? If you are stuck in a certain pattern, your body actually will not continue to burn fat. So changing things up, being flexible, not being stuck in, I have to get this class in. And I know I'm saying this to potentially my detriment, because I know many of you have taken class with me for a really long time, but maybe you add something or take something away so that you can experience some different flexibility and your body can be shocked and changed. And then you can come back later to, back to me or back to something else. Does that make sense? Finally, intention and proprioception. So intention in your movement is incredibly important. The science is backed by the study after study that if you do not think about what you're doing and put your effort and intention in, you won't burn as much. If you're thinking about, and I say this all the time, if you're thinking about what you're going to make for dinner while you're doing your class, you are not going to be as efficient in your caloric expenditure. It is what it is. And in line with that is proprioception. And with this, I'll end. So your brain, this word right here is basically a fancy word meaning how your brain connects to your movement. So some people are really gifted in this. It would be your athletes and pro players and things like that. They are significantly, they have honed their proprioception. So your brain tells your body to move a certain way. You don't struggle. You don't have to think about it and, oh, am I going left or right? You can get better at that. You can train your body to get better at that. And there's specific exercises that you can do to make that happen. But it's just another example of how you can become more of a fat burning machine by doing simple things that can increase that connective piece. You can think about what you're doing at the same time, so that all of these things combined turn you into that fat burning machine. Okay. Awesome. Does anybody have any questions? I know it was a lot today. It was another fire hose of information. So please let me know if you have any questions, and I'm happy to answer them. I probably will only go for a few more minutes, and then because I do want to value your time. And if you need to hop off, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time and for your support. And if you don't feel comfortable asking questions here, I am more than happy to personally answer you via direct message. You can email me, you can text me. You are so welcome, Jenya. So yes, Met.F.I.R.E. method, Next week, we're going to talk about kind of everything else. It's going to be another fire hose, but it's going to be good because we're going to talk about all the little things that can contribute to you not being that fat burning machine. Okay. Yes. And then we are going to finish it out. And there, I do have this program that is way more involved and a little more personalized. So if that is something that interests you, I'm more than happy to chat with you about that as well. Thank you again for taking the time. And please feel free to reach out to me. As I mentioned, I would love to have you guys ask those questions. Hey, Shalika, I didn't know that you were here. Sorry, I didn't see you in the mix because I was sharing my big screen. I'm glad you could make it. All right, you guys, thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. Again, I appreciate the support, and hopefully this was good information for you. All right, have a great night. Thank you.